Hello, my name is Tara Brabazon. I'm the Dean of Graduate Research at Flinders University, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you to this, our third vlog. And this week's vlog is titled Impostor Syndrome. Ooh. But before we get to Impostor Syndrome, I need to do some big shout outs. Firstly, an enormous shout out to everyone, including Adam and the lab. Big hello to Adam and the lab. Whizzle says hi, team. Also, I'd like to say hello to the glorious Michelle and to Matty. Thank you for spending time with me this week. Also to beautiful Bronwyn. Bronwyn is currently in Ireland, and Bronwyn and I were sending tweets to each other on Friday night and Saturday morning. It was lovely to have that dialogue with you. I'm so proud of you, and your research is just excellent, so good on you, Bronwyn. And of course, I know this will come as a surprise to regular vodcast viewers, but I need to do a shout out to Bruce. Hi Bruce, you're a legend. And this topic this week on imposter syndrome, of course, came from Bruce. The second email that Bruce sent me was, Tara, you need to do something on imposter syndrome. And I went, girlfriend, I have never heard of imposter syndrome. I'm 780 years old and I've never heard of imposter syndrome. But in the next 2 days, 7 people came up to me or sent me a message and said, oh, I'm feeling a bit like an imposter. I'm suffering from imposter syndrome. So I read this as a sign, and yes, that's why this vodcast is about you and is talking about imposter syndrome, what it is, but also how we can fix it so you can become your best self and also you can produce your best work. So imposter syndrome, what is it? Well, it came from, via the refereed literature, the late 1970s. So it's got a bit of a disco vibe about it. The first mention is from 2 psychologists, Pauline Clance and Suzanne Imes. What they did was they described, it was more of a description work in this early refereed scholarship, they described a group of high achieving individuals who for some reason couldn't claim their ability, couldn't claim their intelligence. They always felt like they were going to be found out. And whatever external verification existed for their expertise, they always dismissed it and sort of thought they were just lucky. So that's imposter syndrome. But from this 1970s disco vibe of imposter syndrome, it has continued through to our present. And for example, the last Nature had an editorial that featured imposter syndrome. So this is something important, and it still lives and breathes in our present and also in doctoral programs around the world. So it refers to those guys and gals who endlessly think that they're going to be found out as a fraud, as an imposter. And that is a really damaging series of ideas, I would argue, for PhD students, because I need you confident. I need you balanced. I need you every day fronting the table and feeling fantastic. And the reason for that, guys, is writing requires confidence. Sustaining excellence in doctoral education over 3 years is so important, but it's incredibly difficult. I know that you're going to have bad days, but you need to have more good days than bad to get to that completion. And remember, you are already successful. And here's something your supervisors may not have told you. When I applied for a PhD program when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I just simply needed, when I was filling in the form, to confirm my level of honours, which was first class honours, so yes, confirm my level of honours, and I was asked to supply 1 sentence about what I think my PhD might be on. So there was this question, and I simply filled in the box that said youth cultures in Thatcher's Britain. I gained entry into that doctoral program with that application and got a scholarship. Now compare that experience to what you guys have to go through. Not only are you assessed as a scholar, but your project is also assessed. You don't just need a vibe or a title, you need research questions. What research methodologies are you going to deploy? What theories are you going to deploy? You have to give your firstborn baby to the institution. All these things you've got to go through to gain entry into a doctoral program now. So you are checked time and time again. You can't be an imposter. You can't. So how are we going to address this issue for you? Because it's not about reality, it is about how you are feeling. Firstly, what I want you to do is claim the support of the people around you. Your supervisors adore you, your faculty, your school adores you, this office, the Office of Graduate Research adores you. If you need any layer of support, it is available to you. So talk about how you are feeling. Secondly, and this is an important one, it's about you, I want you to stop automated thinking. I'll try and explain what automated thinking is. So that's when, as you move through your day, these weird random phrases pop into your head. So, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough, I'm fat, I'm ugly. All these phrases that sort of pop into your head that are not linked to reality at all, but they're automated, and they're automated to bring you down. So every time that you have a phrase like that in your head, like, I don't deserve this, I'm not smart enough, I want you to stop yourself thinking that. I'm not smart enough, stop yourself. And I want you to replace a new phrase in its place. And that phrase is, I am fabulous. So how are you feeling, Bruce? I am fabulous. How are you feeling, Adam? I am fabulous. How are you feeling, Maddie? I am fabulous. So whenever the I'm not smart enough stuff pops up, replace it with I am fabulous. And yes, say it out loud, say it proud, say it often. One of the best ways I think you can overcome imposter syndrome, and probably, guys, why I've never heard about it, is I've spent my life teaching in universities, but particularly teaching first years in universities. And the thing about being a teacher is that you know you're not terribly important. What actually matters as a teacher is the student that you're teaching. Your students matter, you don't matter too much. And I have a quote from C.S. Lewis on my phone, which I refer to all the time. Big fan of C.S. Lewis. Yes, there's the fiction, Lion, Witch and Wardrobe, but there's also his great critical writing that explores the nature of academic life, and particularly reading. And I find a lot of C.S. Lewis's work quite inspiring, really, so you might like to seek that out. But he used a great phrase. He said, humility is not thinking less of yourself, but thinking of yourself less. So start to think of yourself as a conduit, as a way to share and to enable knowledge in others. So you're not a pretender, you're not an imposter, you are a translator and a transformer of knowledge. And of course, you are fabulous. What are you? Fabulous. And if it helps, start to collect up all the lovely things that people say about you. It may be in text messages or tweets, it may be in emails, but if it makes you feel better, store the lovely things that people say. And if you are having a bad day, simply pull up that file and read it, and you will feel a lot better. And I really started to think about, when I was engaging with Bruce about this, why I'd never experienced this, because I sort of seemed like the ideal sociological candidate. Came from a tough background, neither of my parents made it to university, and universities were really a foreign country to me. And I always remember when I arrived at the University of Western Australia, UW, and it was terribly posh, and everyone was speaking all this posh language and talking about posh music and posh food and posh wine and stuff I had absolutely no idea what was going on. It was a different language, but it never worried me. And I think the reason it never worried me is I have never compared myself to other people. I wish everybody well, I wish everybody success, but they are different and separate from me. I have self-confidence, and yes, I do know I am fabulous. So what I'd ask is, start to separate yourself away a little bit from what other people say about you. I'm not wedded to what other people say about me. I tend to also disconnect what people say about my work, what people say about my research, and what people say about me. So I separate that out. The research is different from me. So your thesis is important and great, but your doctorate is not you. You existed before the PhD, you'll exist after the PhD. But let's put in place a few more strategies to help you with imposter syndrome today. Now, your supervisor really matters here. Your supervisor is not a god. Your supervisor is not a guru. Your supervisor, all of us, are made of flesh and blood and bone. But the relationship with the supervisor is incredibly intimate. It's such a special, important relationship. And one of the reasons I always make sure that my students get to know me as a person, so in other words, they know my family, they know my friends, they know my husband, they know everybody, and I friend them on Facebook and they can see my life, is so that they can see that I'm not a guru. I'm really just a dilbert like absolutely everybody else. Stuff goes wrong. I'm a 5'2" bird who has an interest in shoes, loves science fiction, loves Doctor Who, great family, wonderful friends. But, you know, I'm, yes, a scholar and a professor and a dean. But if all of that went away today, I'm still an incredibly happy person because I have a life. So start to flesh out that full identity for yourself as well. You will write a better PhD if you are calm and confident and centered. You are not a Fordist assembly line to pump out a PhD. You are a whole person who is writing a PhD, and writing improves if you have that sense of a life, of a palette of interests. Also start to think about your relationship with your supervisor and do talk to them about your feelings. Yes, I've said it, feelings. And I'll tell you why. They'll learn something if you talk to them about your feelings. Let me tell you about my 8th PhD completion. A wonderful woman by the name of Carrie, and this was in the year 2000. She changed my life and she improved me as a supervisor. When I was drafting theses, and I still draft in this way now, I use tracked changes. So the student sends me the document and I track changes through it. And when I was doing that for Carrie, she had 6 months to go. She was 2.5 years in, and she got the draft back. And one day in her meeting, she said to me, "Look, Tara, can you just tell me what I'm doing right sometimes? At the moment with these track changes, you're only picking out the errors. Can you tell me what's going well?" She was brilliant. I sat back in the chair, mouth open, absolutely horrified at myself that that's what I was doing. And she was right. What I was doing is I was so worried that I wouldn't pick up the errors that would progress to examination. I was trying to protect them so much that I wasn't actually telling them what they were doing well, that they were fabulous. So Carrie transformed how I supervised from that point on. So do talk with your supervisor. Make sure they know that you need the positivity as well. But also, when they say, "That's really great work," it is important that you believe them. Also, watch social media, watch the comment culture on the bottom of blogs, watch tweets, watch the bottom feeders of the internet, as I refer to them. So these are the people that go, "You're ugly, you're stupid, you're fat." So all those people that do that sort of stuff, just block, 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 block. So anybody on Twitter sends anything weird out, just block it. Put it out of your life. So if someone is creating negativity in your life, just do a Taylor Swift, all right, and shake it off. Shake it off. Now, a lot of the discussion I've had with you guys today in this vlog is about language, and there's a reason for that. That's why I have a tendency to refer to you all as PhD students, not PhD or doctoral candidates. Yes, the regulations always refer to you as doctoral candidates, but I refer to you as PhD students, and I do that for a reason, because I'm trying to remind people that you are students first. You are learning. I believe there's way too much attention at the moment on the experience of supervisors. So people go, "I'm an experienced supervisor." That's great, and that's important, but I'm much more interested in the expertise of supervisors rather than the experience. And I'll tell you why. Someone could be an experienced supervisor, but they're putting the same experience on over and over again, and it's got problems in it. They're making mistakes. So if you replicate the same experience and there are problems and mistakes, you're actually hurting students as you go on. Expertise, you're conscious, you're reflecting, you're engaging with andragogy, which is the theory of learning. There are some fantastic theories of learning around doctoral education at the moment, and some great SOTL, which is the scholarship of teaching and learning. So it's very important that all supervisors claim expertise, research and andragogy as much as their experience. You see, you're not an apprentice learning from the experience of a master craftsman. You're not meant to be worshipping the guru. And I think that's probably where some of this imposter stuff is coming in. You are enrolled in a doctoral program at an elite university, and we use international best practice, international research to ensure you have the best candidature on the planet. It's not just experience, it's expertise. You are students, and you have the right to learn, and you have the right to be protected in that journey. Yeah. Graham Turner, Professor Graham Turner, Professor of Cultural Studies at UQ, is the only guy that I would refer to as a mentor in my life. I tend to not use the word mentor, I think it's a bit daggy, but he is a mentor in my life. And I always remember, before I was doing a gig to the UQ doctoral candidates almost a decade ago, Graham was talking to me at the front of the room and he said, "I wish we could just tell our students that the PhD is the worst research that they're ever going to write." And I remember thinking at the time how wise that was. So the PhD is not the best research you will ever write. It's not perfect. It's not even excellent. It's good. It's good, solid scholarship that demonstrates you have expertise in academic protocols. That's what a PhD is. So it's not surprising, with all this notion of perfection and how great the research is going to be, that you guys often have those dreadful moments of doubt. But I want you to remember, you are fabulous. And the other thing I would say to you too, and there are days we all wake up and we're just in hell, okay? You just feel like you're in the middle of hell. And if you are in hell, what I'd advise you to do is keep walking. So don't sit in hell and go, "Oh wow, it's really hot in here." Hey, if you're in hell, force yourself to stand up, put your shoulders back and get some momentum. Walk out of there. So if you sit in hell, if you take a leave of absence in hell, if you start to self-medicate through alcohol or any other measures, then guys, you're still in hell. What I want you to do is get some momentum in your candidature. So whenever I get into one of those stuck moments, and I wish I was joking and the office is just going to give me hell over this, but I'm just going to share it with you. Whenever I'm in one of those hell moments, I put on a particular song, and that song is Kenny Rogers, The Gambler. And I play Kenny Rogers, The Gambler about 15 times in a row, and then I feel a lot better. I always remember the Kenny line, and I carry it in my daily life. You got to know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money when you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. There's the other great line, I think, in The Gambler too, the great poker metaphor: every hand's a winner and every hand's a loser. And I often think every PhD is fabulous, every PhD can fail, but it's your choice, your agency, that decides which way that hand is going to go. So I think what the great philosopher Kenny Rogers is telling us is that it is important every now and again to just get out of yourself at times and reflect on your context, reflect on who you are. Know when you have to dig in and have your say, but also know, if we're going to quote another song, we'll quote the song from Frozen, when you have to actually let it go, because actually cold doesn't bother me anyway. I once did a talk in SOAS in London, and I used the title, a great bogan title, Toughen Up Princess. And that was the title of the piece, Toughen Up Princess. What I meant was, through that title, don't relinquish your happiness to other people. The imposter syndrome only exists if you think you're an imposter. You're not. You're a star. You're a light on the planet. You are the future of higher education. I want you to claim your space and claim your place. And always remember, I would love to hear your emails. Talk to me in any platform, in any way that you would like to. I love hearing from you, so say hello to me. And always remember, by the way, yes, you are fabulous. So I wish you for next week love, light and peace. You are fantastic. Tara out. Bye.